client welcome packets, letters, coaching agreement forms, worksheets, logs, and templates. Part 1 of 2. While it's exciting to think about getting new clients, getting paid and working with them, hold on there. A very important aspect to all these activities is the understanding and use of very specific coaching client forms, worksheets, and agreements before you ever entertain the idea of helping others with your coaching talents. What's more, remember, this is a business, not a hobby. All your effort in finding and working with clients won't truly manifest itself into its true potential if you don't have an organized approach to helping those who wish to hire you. As a coach, think of yourself like a teacher who tries to teach students without handouts, worksheets, and quizzes. That's not the best way to help students get the most out of the teacher/student learning experience, is it? So, before you go looking for clients, let's go over a few of the types of coaching client forms, worksheets, and agreements you should be using in your coaching business to help bring out the most in you as a coach and the client when you use them and how. Should you have a coaching agreement to coach someone? Absolutely. Contracts and agreements are a must-have when performing work for anyone, whether you plan to perform such work for free or pro bono, or you plan to charge any amount of monies for your time and effort. Contracts are legal instruments used to ensure each party lives up to their part of the agreement. Contracts spell out the details and conditions of the work to be performed, expectations, and obligations, so there is no doubt between two or more parties what is to be expected. Contracts shield you, the coach, in times of war, such as if a client wanted to sue you. They ensure you get paid, such as contracts are binding and obligate your client to pay what they agreed to. And they help your client perform their part of the agreement, such as client agrees to do the homework assigned, apply themselves, show up on time, or forfeit monies paid. Contracts are an integral part of the coaching business. Understanding the why, when, and how to use them is vital to your success as a rich coach. So, let's take a closer look at what goes into a good contract, how they're constructed, and some coaching agreement form templates for your use. Now, what elements make up a good coaching agreement? While not all contracts read alike, there are some common elements that make each contract clear and binding. We're going to get into some of these elements right now. For starters, the date of the agreement. Every contract should be dated. When was it signed and executed? Well, look at the date. Name all parties. For whom are you providing coaching services for? All parties involved should be named in the contract. That means you and your client's name. Description of services. Exactly what will you be doing for the client? Spell it out. The more details you can specify, the more protection you potentially have if the need arises. Terms and conditions. Further document all services to be performed, method of terms of payment, how refund requests will be handled, client delays, no-shows, and any other details important enough that they should be spelled out in the contract before any coaching is to be provided. Date and signature lines. When all the parties have reviewed the contract, each party should sign it and date it. Consider whether a witness or third-party signature is needed. Sometimes it is useful to have a contract witnessed. In most cases, it's not necessary, but nice to have. It's quite simple. The details come in when you start spelling out what you will do for the other party and vice versa. Upcoming in this audio program, we'll look at and talk about some sample contracts so you get a better idea as to what makes up a good contract. Can you create your own contracts and agreements? If you perform a search online you'll find a variety of free coaching agreements, and some you might have to pay for. Which ones are the best to use? Well, that depends on what services you plan to provide your client, and other terms you might want to have included or excluded in your coaching agreement with your client. Whether you choose to use a free template, pay for one, or design your own from scratch, it's best to have it looked over by someone with legal experience for your protection before asking the client to read, sign, and return it to you. The best approach to this is to, number one, study a number of coaching agreements. Number two, gather ideas from each of them that you'd like to include in your coaching agreement. Number three, construct your own coaching agreement based on those ideas. And number four, have it looked over by a legal expert if you have access to one. Contracts don't have to be complicated, whether in written or verbal format. Simply state what each party is obligated to do, by when, how much money is involved, spell out all and any payment terms, etc., and you've got a contract. Unless a statute or law requires it, a contract need not be in writing. But there are a few reasons, however, why you should generate a written one, if not at least an invoice for monies due. Number one, to better understand the terms of the contract and the obligations of all parties involved in writing, because human beings forget. Number two, to avoid misunderstandings, because humans change their mind often. Number three, to protect against dishonesty over terms agreed to, because humans are not perfect and do cheat, lie, and steal. And number four, to preserve the ability to bring legal action if any contractual obligations are not met. Again, because human beings cannot be trusted. They should always be suspect to doing the opposite of what they said they were going to do. Hence, contracts are binding. Now, what's a typical coaching agreement look like? Well, in the book, Rich Coach, Broke Coach, and at the website, mytrainingcenter.com, you'll see a typical coaching agreement that looks like a typical coaching agreement. While some coaching agreements can be simple in design, they leave out certain elements worth including, as you'll see in the one that I created. If you get the chance to see the coaching agreement sample that I have online at mytrainingcenter.com, or the one that I have in the book, Rich Coach, Broke Coach, take a moment to read over this agreement line by line. And you'll notice what's covered to protect you and get the client to act on certain aspects that relate to you financially and to themselves from a performance perspective. Naturally, contracts can be tweaked, edited, and improved over time. If you come across something you'd like to put into your contract that's not in the contract used by another coach, well, that's okay. Your contracts are for your business and for your use. Create the type of contract that suits your needs. What's more, don't think of contracts as an inconvenience or a deterrent to bringing on a new client, but instead as written evidence of a commitment between two parties, such as, I, the coach, commit to assisting my client just as the client will commit to helping himself or herself and will pay the agreed upon fee for services. Both sign the contract to acknowledge their commitments to the client's success. Now, I'm going to read to you what's on this coaching client agreement. And after you listen to the different elements and components of this coaching client agreement, I think you'll agree that, it is very important that I use a coaching client agreement. And it'll also educate you in the manner that there are things that protect me. There are things that get the client to do things that I don't even have to tell them because the contract said it all. And that's important. So here we go. This is a 2-page contract. It's called the Coaching Client Agreement. At the top has your letterhead, company name, street address, telephone number, fax, and email, and website address. Here are the instructions to fill out this form. Please complete and sign this agreement and fax it to my fax number before our first session. Now this includes a number of Roman numerals. This is an outline. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 Roman numerals on this contract, 9 sections, and I'm going to go through each one of them. The first section is just basically contact information about the client. So, coaching client data, please print clearly. Full name, birthday, address, day phone, cell phone, evening phone, fax, email, spouse's name, optional. Children's names and ages, optional. Occupation and employer, optional. Now that information is optional, but if the client does put that information on the contract, at least you have an idea, wow, so when they mention a certain person's name, you know that it might be their spouse or one of their children's names. If you know what occupation they have or the company they might work for, you might, oh, that reminds me. So you're just starting to get a little bit of information about the client. Now, here's a statement. May I, your coach, send session-related information to your email address? Yes or no? This is important. We want to respect the privacy of the client. We don't know if their email is monitored by someone else, like a spouse or someone else. So they may say no. Please don't send any coaching information that we have together to my email address. If they check that box no, great. Ask them why, and do they have an alternative email address or other way to get them information about the coaching sessions. If they say yes, great. Just verify it when you talk to them. Hey, I saw that you checked yes on the may I send coaching related information to you regarding our sessions to your email address. Is that okay? Yeah, go ahead, do it. Great. Just wanted to be sure because I'm going to send you forms, some assessment contracts, some questionnaires, different survey things, and I want to make sure you get them and it's okay.